the major factor on which the importance of structural engineering for building structures and foundations basis which it is about the use of complex designs and amalgamated materials in modern structures require effectual structural analysis for design reliability, safety, strength, material specification, and stress design focused on experiential and practical basis.
Right again. Structural analysis is a valid answer.
Mostly used in designing foundation slab systems and concrete floors. Combines all the aspects of the engineering design process, from creating layout to detailed drawing production in a single, intuitive environment. Enables highly advanced local assessment of foundation systems within larger structures and imports files from CAD, ETABS, and SAP.
Solid response. SAFE is a valid choice.
Credentialed structural engineers assist in predicting safety and assess capacity and stability of a structure against static and dynamic loading. Thus, the process of planning the design and building the structure, keeping in view the safety and security of workers, visitors, and customers, become hassle-free and less dangerous.
Great job! Safety evaluation is the accurate answer.
This designation signifies a high level of competence and expertise in structural engineering and allows the engineer to engage in the practice of professional engineering, including designing and overseeing the construction of various structures. It's essential for ensuring the safety and integrity of buildings and infrastructure.
Good job. Your answer incorporated engineers works well here.
Passenger vessels, cargo ships, and boats of all other kinds might form the bulk of the engineering done at sea. But a structural engineer who works in the nautical field could as easily develop and maintain other non-moving structures like wind turbines, or even those to support oceanography.
You're right. Nautical is the correct answer.
Is a specialty inside the field of civil engineering which centers on structural framework systems and on planning those structures in order to withstand the pressure and/or stresses from their environment, and to assure the security and steadiness of the system all throughout its use.
Exactly. Structural engineering makes sense and it is right choice. Common software in structural engineering. Comprehensive project review solution to gain detailed insight into the project and enhance productivity and quality. Open, combine, review, and share detailed 3D design models in various file formats. Great thinking. Navisworks is the right choice. A skilled structural engineer has the capability to offer detailed information regarding foundations, floors, type of roofs, beams, quantity of steel needed, alignments, directing to durability, retaining walls, suspension of bridges, and more. Well reasoned. Structure design support is the correct choice.
Major area of structural engineering in which this is the most obvious. Structural engineers help design and construct buildings so they stay standing after the scaffolding has been taken away. But buildings come in many forms.
You got it. Your choice buildings is right.
They develop solutions to engineering problems using new or existing technologies through innovation, creation, and alter, and that they may have technical accountability for complex systems with significant levels of risk.
Well picked. Chartered engineers is the correct answer. Structural design and analysis tool developed by research engineers later acquired by Bentley Systems. features ease of use and an array of essential tools required for accomplishing an analytical process.
Right choice. STAAD.Pro is the best answer.
Structural engineers are often liable for the organization and delivery of materials and equipment needed in developing a project. The supervision and management of on-site labor can also be a necessity.
Nice selection. Structural engineering and management is the correct and valid answer.
Before work can begin, structural engineers are involved within the investigation and survey of build sites to work out the suitability of the world for the wants of the upcoming projects.
Smart pick. Structural engineering, when it comes to investigation, is the correct choice. Arya, Michael, and Benjamin are building a treehouse. They are considering using a truss system. Can you help them understand the purpose of a truss system in structural engineering?
On track. To provide support and strength to their treehouse is the correct answer.
Proper structural estimation guides builders to test design efficacy, chalk out material required, and assess costs while aiding creative and effective utilization of resources. Sharp thinking. Assessment is the right choice.
What kind of engineer would design the buildings like the one in this picture? You chose structural engineer, and it is correct.
A structural engineer works alongside a team of other construction professionals such as architects, civil engineers, and other discipline engineers.
Excellent. Team player is a brilliant choice. Emma, Scarlett, and Evelyn are planning to build a tower for their school project. According to the text, what should they do first? Perfect. Draw the blueprint is the correct choice. World's most important and #1 structural engineer in the world. Correct response. Fazla Rahman Khan is the most accurate answer. What term is used to describe the weakening of a structure due to large combinations of internal and external forces over time? Well done. Structural fatigue is the right choice.
Structural engineers use their skills and knowledge to design structures that are strong and flexible to withstand pressures.
Valid point. Creative is true. It granted by the Philippine Technological Council and governed by the Professional Regulation Commission.
Smart move. Incorporated engineers is an accurate answer.
Graduates will need a degree in civil or structural engineering accredited by the Institution of Structural Engineers. Good thinking. Structural engineering, the qualifications and trainings, is the right answer. Which software is commonly used for 2D and 3D designs, drafting, and modeling workflows in structural engineering? Bravo. AutoCAD is the answer. Which structural system is used to counteract the lateral loads of a tall building caused by wind and earthquakes? Correct. Moment frame is the right answer. What is likely to happen if structural fatigue is ignored and more weight is added to the middle of a shelf? Nice work. You chose the shelf may collapse due to structural failure, and it is correct.
What might occur if a shelf cannot withstand stress and undergoes permanent changes while still standing?
Nicely done. Structural fatigue is a solid answer. What additional responsibility does a structural engineer have when a property is being redeveloped? The
Clear logic. Your choice conducting a new foundation assessment is sound and 100% true.
Which professional would likely be most concerned with compression, shear, tension, and torsion?
Excellent choice. Structural engineer is the right answer. Which qualification is required to become a chartered engineer in structural engineering?
Strong choice. Bachelor's degree in civil engineering is the right answer.
Substructure element that use simple support to knot up the bridge and transmit its weight below. Nice work. You chose standard abutment, and it is correct. Which of the following structural materials typically has the highest strength to weight ratio? Smart move. Aluminum is an accurate answer. What is the main benefit of using cameras and photo reference cards in structural engineering? You chose to store data, and it is correct. Why does the development of a new bridge require a thorough analysis by a structural engineer? Correct response. Due to the substantial weight that bridges can carry is the most accurate answer.
Which of the following materials is typically used for structural elements in construction?
Excellent. Concrete is a brilliant choice.
What type of projects might a structural engineer be involved in alongside civil engineers?
Nice selection. Developing major roadways and highways is the correct and valid answer.
What is a key aspect of community development projects that structural engineers analyze?
Smart pick. The impact on structures in the area is the correct choice. What is the primary responsibility of a structural engineer in the construction industry? E. Great thinking. Ensuring safety and longevity is the right choice. Which of the following is not a reason for structural failure due to faulty construction?
Perfect. Use of high-quality materials is the correct choice.
What is the significance of the Euler-Bernoulli beam equation in structural engineering? Good thinking. To assess beam deflection is the right answer.
What type of load causes structural failures during extreme conditions like ice storms?
You got it. Your choice, extraordinary loads, is right.
What is the purpose of personal protective equipment in structural engineering?
You're right. To ensure safety is the correct answer.
A mathematical analysis of a structural model to determine all of the members' forces.
Excellent choice. Structural analysis is the right answer. Develop the fundamental theory underlying most structural engineering design. Right choice. Euler and Bernoulli is the best answer.
What is the most effective structural system for bridges spanning more than 2,000 m?
Solid response. Cable-stayed structures is a valid choice. What is the primary role of a structural engineer in the construction process? On track. Ensuring safety and durability is the correct answer. What is the main focus of structural engineering in the field of construction? Great job. Structural integrity is the accurate answer. The individual structural elements that all make up a truss connected by joints.
Exactly. Members make sense, and it is right choice.
What is the main function of a small sledgehammer
in structural engineering.
Right again? Checking quality of materials is a valid answer.
What is the primary function of a safety harness in structural engineering?
Bravo. To prevent falls from height is the answer.
Steel beams come in many shapes and sizes. Name different beam shapes.
Valid point. I-beam, H-beam, and C-beam is true.
What is one of the most common jobs that a structural engineer will have? Well done. Assisting in the development of a new building is the right choice. What is the equilibrium equation in civil and structural engineering?
Well picked. Equilibrium equation is the correct answer.
An experienced structural engineer should pay attention to details.
Well reasoned. Meticulous is the correct choice.
What is the purpose of using different shapes in structural design? Nicely done. To distribute weight and forces is a solid answer. Why is the triangle considered a strong shape in structural design? Sharp thinking. Because it distributes weight evenly is the right choice. What percentage of structural failures are caused by bad design?
Clear logic. Your choice 40-60% is sound and 100% true.
A joint at which a structure is attached to its foundation?
Correct. Supports is the right answer.
What is the final step in the engineering design process?
Strong choice. Improve is the right answer.
What is structural engineering primarily concerned with?
Good job. Your answer, the safety and security of physical structures, works well here.
What is a basic structural system of tall buildings? You got it. Your choice frame is right.
Why is a blueprint important in structural design?
Solid response. Because it provides a visual guide is a valid choice.
What is the main focus of structural engineering?
Perfect. Structural framework is the correct choice.
Which item is a structural member of a building?
Bravo, beam is the answer.
What are the basic types of superstructures?
You're right. Mass superstructure, bearing wall superstructure, and framed superstructure is the correct answer.
What forces generally cause structures to fail? Excellent. Static load and dynamic load is a brilliant choice. What are the different stress on a beam? Nicely done. Compression, tension, shear, torsion, and combination stress is a solid answer. What do the letters CAD mean in engineering? Sharp thinking. Computer-aided design is the right choice.
Two major causes of structure failure are
Smart pick. Poor design and engineering, material or connection failure is the correct choice. Vertical structural supports are known as right choice. Columns is the best answer.
What kind of engineer designs bridges?
Valid point. Structural engineer is true. Name different beam materials.
Exactly. Steel, iron, and aluminum makes sense, and it is right choice.
The foundation of a bridge. Well picked.
substructure is the correct answer.
A building inspector dash. Nice work. You chose all of the above, and it is correct.
How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format?
Correct. Contact Narayan Changda is the right answer.